So, the translations are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 422, and let's just say, this chapter has probably made me the happiest I've ever been reading My Hero Academia in a long time. And hopefully you'll be able to feel the joy that I feel for this chapter in this review. So, let's talk about it. But first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Man True, and I'm here to do my manga review for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 422 titled, and this is a big spoiler because we don't get the title of the chapter until the final double page spread. It is Chapter 422, Izuku Midoriya Rising. Yeah, we're getting a Rising chapter for Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku. And with that piece of information in mind, you can probably guess what this chapter is all about and what this review is going to be about. In this video, I'm just going to be really talking about how this chapter really embodies a lot of the ideals of My Hero Academia, especially when it pertains to Deku, and how what happens in this chapter is very much the embodiment of who Deku is as a character and the entirety of the journey that he has gone on, coming to the singular moment that happened in this chapter. So let's talk about what happened in this chapter to understand why this chapter made me so happy. And to start off, what we get at the beginning of this chapter is kind of what we get with a running theme or motif throughout the entire chapter, which is characters that know Deku, especially members of Class 1A, throwing Deku forward to get him closer to All For One while supporting him in the best way that they can. And it starts off with Aoyama trying to toss Deku forward as Deku is worried about him, but Aoyama saying, "Don't worry, keep moving forward," as we see debris coming around him. And the reason why Deku has to do it this way is because Kurogiri, aka Shirokumo, is no longer able to use his quirk, and how Aizawa pretty much announces to everyone in the battlefield of like, hey, we need to make a path for Deku because he's the only one that can actually damage All For One. Because we do get moments of characters throughout the entire series, such as Fukudashi as well as Kami trying to fight against All For One to no avail, as well as the young girl from Class 2A, I believe, that was once a member of Aizawa's class. All of these characters coming together to try and support Deku and get him closer to All For One. As we get All For One beginning not to hold back, implying that the form that he's in right now is the full factor release without the emotional baggage and him having full control over it, to the point where he's able to launch like these spike-like things at Deku, as well as a literal laser that is luckily enough diverted away and into All For One by Hagakure, as well as you have Momo as well as Kaminari combining their abilities together to literally make a railgun. And that's kind of how the chapter goes, with characters such as like Sato, Sero, Ojiro, as well as Koda coming in to block attacks. Mina, as well as Kirishima and Fatcom blocking another attack, attacking Deku, telling him to like do his best and to keep moving forward. Even to the point where you have Shoji as well as Tsuyu taking their limbs and throwing Deku forward with as much force as possible, while they're all telling him to do his best, as we actually get other characters in the crowd related to the characters that we saw supporting them, such as Kirishima and Mina's classmates, the girl that Shoji saved when he was young, Froppy, Tsuyu's family, all supporting their individuals that they care about who are also supporting Deku. And how this running idea is pretty much dumbfounding All For One, who finally realizes that the reason why they're doing this is all because of Deku, and that it's because of Deku being seen as useless or weak, or his weakness, that allows for others to want to support him, which is kind of the difference from what All Might was. Because All Might was the pinnacle of strength and the ideal of perfection, very few people actually wanted to challenge against him or support him as if he was a person. But when it comes to Deku, because he comes from the lowest levels of society, relatively speaking, and was quote unquote weak from the start, it means that more people are willing to support him and push him up and lift him out of the area that he's in right now. Pretty much, it's Deku's inherent weakness that is actually going to be his greatest strength, which allows for more people to keep moving forward and to keep getting up and asking Deku to do his best. Which ties into something that All Might has always wanted to say to Deku, but never believed that he was able to do so. And how this is just the embodiment of who Deku is. Deku, the hero that always does his best. And that line is repeated throughout the entire chapter as we see other characters such as Ida coming in to support Deku even more. And how All For One finally realizes why Deku is so strong in this way. He is potentially going to have something negative happen to him as we see blood leaking out of the hole of All For One. Now, what this could entail, I cannot say for certain, but it could be the implication that him going full force with all of these quirk factors is actually doing major damage against his body, and that is going to be amplified by Deku going in for a major attack on him with One For All. But speaking of All Might, this is where we get the scene that probably makes me smile the most, or at least half of the scene. Because after we cut from the battlefield, we just have All Might being taken care of by the US pilots who are questioning how they're alive right now because their jets didn't have eject button. To which they come to the conclusion that All Might, in some way or fashion, installed injector seats in the airplane, which most likely happened during that 1 week time between Star and Stripe's death and the start of the war. And how they're very much like happy that All Might did this, but then you just have All Might just thinking about Deku and how he thinks that the kids want a perfect victory, and how he thinks about young Midoriya and how he was able to allow for All Might's body to move on its own, and that since the day that he met him in chapter 1, he's always been ... and spoilers, he says that he's always been my greatest hero, and that is just so emotionally relevant. Because if you don't remember, this is supposed to be the story of how Deku became the greatest hero. But this line implies that even though this is the story of how Deku became the greatest hero, the story began and sort of ended at the moment where Deku tried to save Bakugo, and he became the greatest hero in the eyes of his mentor. Which probably explains why All Might chose Deku to be his successor. Because not only did Deku look up to All Might as a hero, All Might also looked up to Deku. And that is just so thematically relevant because it shows that being the greatest hero is not about strength or power or status. It's about what makes you a hero, which is the willingness to save people, whether or not you have the power, the status, or the abilities. Which leads to multiple pages of many characters throughout the entire series just asking and telling Deku to do his best. From Rhodey and Pico, to Melissa Shield, to even characters who are heavily injured, such as Uraraka as well as Tokoyami, all of them saying to do his best, as pretty much everyone across the world is telling Deku to do his best, to the point where even the United States president is like, you know what, screw everything, send every hero that we have to Japan. Deku has been able to motivate everyone in the entire world to support him. And as all of these people support him, it's able to get him to the point where he's able to land a massive hit on All For One, ending the chapter. And having the last person to tell Deku to do his best, Izuku, being his mother, once again, ties all the way back into the beginning of the series, chapter 1, where his mother did not support him at all, but now she is supporting him with her whole heart, believing that she and her son, believing that he can actually be the hero that he's always wanted to be. The tears. The tears are coming down my face. Yeah, I love this chapter. I honestly love this chapter. This chapter just has all of the emotional weight that I could ask for from the series, and it accumulating into this one chapter was amazing. I don't even know where the story is gonna go from here at this point, because I'm just in a state of just emotional bliss. All I can hope is that it's able to retain this emotion into the next chapter, where we see Deku potentially fighting against All for One, and most likely than not, this battle ending a lot faster than we ever thought. And how this chapter pretty much emphasizes the reasoning why all the heroes are here, so that you can just have this moment of every single person in the story that we have seen, from Class 1A to 1B to professional heroes to sidekicks to side heroes, all in one chapter, telling Deku to do his best, because that's what Deku is. Deku, to do your best, tying into what Uraraka said towards the beginning of this series as well. But yeah, I just really love this chapter. And we're not even going to talk about the artwork because it's always great. But I'm just going to say that I can't wait to see where the next chapter is going to go from here. I think that most likely than not, we're going to be focusing more on the battle than the emotional aspect of this chapter, of Deku going full force against All for One, and that potentially him losing the last spark, but being able to potentially save Tomoe Shigaraki, if not the next chapter, the chapter afterwards. But yeah, that's my thought and my review of this chapter of My Hero Academia. And let me ask you this. What did you think of the chapter? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? And did you shed a tear and are as happy as I am? Leave your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!